This couple took their new puppy back to the shelter with an unusual request. This couple always knew they wanted to get married and start a family one day. They wanted 2 children so that their kids would always have someone to play with. But they weren't ready for kids just yet, so they decided to start with pets. More specifically, a Tamascan puppy named Raven. They welcomed the pup into their family with open arms, but pretty soon the couple had a change of heart. They drove back to the shelter where they found Raven, but not for the reasons you might be thinking. Instead, they had a pretty unusual request when they got to the shelter. Before we find out more about their decision to bring their puppy back to the shelter, let's meet the couple. This is Christina and her fiancé Vincent. They live in Odessa, Texas. Christina and Vincent always imagined getting married and starting a big family, just like the families they'd grown up in. And now that they were engaged, they wanted to get started as soon as possible. They were excited to turn their vision for the future into a reality. They thought about when it would be a good time for them to start having children. When it comes time for couples to discuss family planning, there are a lot of factors for them to consider. First of all, can they even afford kids right now? Children can be very expensive. Secondly, is now the right time to have children? Do they want to do any more traveling in the near future? Couples also have to have conversations about how many children they want to bring into this world. Christina and Vincent had many of these discussions. Having kids is more than a full-time job. You have to be fully committed to raising a family and putting all of your time and effort into making sure your kids are happy and healthy. It's important to plan effectively before having kids. Vincent and Christina talked about it for a long time, and they decided that maybe they should hold off on having children just for the moment. Instead of children, they decided to get a dog. But why would they end up bringing it back to the shelter? A lot of couples who choose not to have kids choose to raise pets instead. Couples who want kids but aren't quite ready to take that huge step in life may want to start out with a pet as something of a practice run. A lot of people treat their pets like children. Some people even go so far as to refer to their pets as their fur babies or fur kids. Christina and Vincent decided that they wanted to adopt a pet first and put off having children until later. They visited many shelters around their hometown because they had a very clear adopt, don't shop policy. After considering all their options, Christina and Vincent decided to adopt a Tamascan puppy that they named Raven. Raven made an excellent addition to their little family, but Christina and Vincent soon realized that they had made a mistake. It didn't take very long for Raven to adjust to her new life with Vincent and Christina. She was eating well and sleeping well. She loved to play and to run around their house. Raven was very cuddly, and overall she was a very well-behaved puppy. Sometimes she chewed things she shouldn't chew, but Vincent and Christina forgave her because, well, she was so darn cute. But as the couple got to know Raven, they noticed something about her that they just couldn't ignore. Raven was a very energetic puppy, and while Christina and Vincent were pretty energetic people, it was becoming more difficult for them to keep up with the little pup. Christina and Vincent were happy with their little family, but they worried about Raven getting lonely when they weren't home. They knew that Raven needed a sibling, someone to keep her company. Raven needed more love in her life. Christina, Vincent, and Raven all headed back to the shelter. Raven was a little bit nervous to be going back to her previous home. Christina was a bit worried that Raven would think they didn't want her anymore and that they were returning her to the shelter for good. Of course, that wasn't the case. They were going to the shelter to find a feline friend for Raven. "I had always wanted a dog and a cat to grow up together. It's like a life goal," Christina said. Christina, Vincent, and Raven looked at a whole bunch of kitties before they found the kitten that was meant for them. All 3 members of this little family immediately formed a connection with a fluffy kitten who just wouldn't leave them alone. They signed the adoption papers on the spot, and Woodhouse, the kitten, officially became part of the squad. That day, a family of 3 became a family of 4.